reigning monarch grew jealous and poisoned him. In his struggle with death, the prince was brought to heaven, where his true purpose was revealed. He was to live and become king. In return, he was to build 11 churches unlike any built before. As soon as he was crowned king, he set out to fulfill his task. The work was carried out side by men and angels. Others say the king visited Jerusalem, and that the angels of the legend were crusaders helping to build a second Jerusalem. Just like in Aksum, it is claimed that the lost ark is kept here. In the holiest of each church there is a priest who has devoted his life to protect it. It is hard to know what is fact and what is legend, but one thing is certain. Incredible skill and knowledge were needed to create these magnificent churches. Another place where the Ark is claimed to be guarded is in Lake Tana, the source of the Blue Nile. Some say that the Jews who followed Menelik from Jerusalem stayed on the 37 islands in the lake. There they have guarded it ever since, and that is how the Falasha Jews came to Ethiopia. The Falasha Jews are yet another mystery. They still practice the old Jewish traditions dating back 2,000 years. Some say that they are pagans who converted to Judaism, and others say that they are the lost Israeli tribe of Dan. The water from Lake Tana makes its way down the mountains, passing the largest waterfalls of Ethiopia. It is named Tis Isat, water that smokes. At the Blue Nile Falls, the water drops 50 meters on its way down through Ethiopia and Sudan to Egypt. The river cuts a winding path through the highlands as deep as the Grand Canyon on its journey to the Mediterranean Sea, 5,000 kilometers away. Not far from Lake Tana is Gondar. This was the capital from the middle of the 17th century. It was founded by Emperor Fasiliados. He built a palace for himself, and every successor followed in his footsteps and constructed castles in the same compound. The castles are said to have been covered in ivory and gold at their prime. Gondar remained the capital to the end of the 19th century. The reason for moving from both Aksum and Gondar was the shortage of firewood. The Emperor Menelik and his wife Taitu spent some time in a military camp on the Entoto mountain, where they felt it was ideal to live. They called it the New Flower, Addis Ababa. At this time, the fast-growing eucalyptus tree was imported from Australia, and firewood was produced on a greater scale. Addis Ababa is an increasingly westernized city with extreme contrasts. New is mixed with old, and poverty is side by side with abundance. This is where the last emperor in the Solomonic dynasty ended his life. Haile Selassie was not only an emperor, to many, he is still a god. Rastafari Makonnen was born in 1892. When he was crowned emperor in 1930, he was given the name Haile Selassie. According to the Rastafarians, the prophecy from the Old Testament was fulfilled. They had found their God. When the Italians invaded Ethiopia in 1936, Rastafarians all around the world protested. As thanks for their support, Haile Selassie gave them some land in Ethiopia to call their own. Rastafarians from different parts of the world have moved to their new homeland, to create a new world with their faith as a cornerstone in society. But the Rastafarians are a very small part of the population. Most of the people live in the highlands. The majestic highlands cover the majority of the Ethiopian countryside. 2/3 of the country is situated on altitudes above 2,000 meters. The altitude has one big advantage. Malaria is not a problem in many areas. But farming this land is no easy task. The population has exploded in the last 50 years, and there are now more than 80 million people in the country. Every fertile piece of land is used. The mountains look like a three-dimensional patchwork of fields climbing up the slopes. In the Horn of Africa, Cushitic, Semitic, and Nilotic people have intertwined, creating an amazing diversity of people. There are more than 70 different ethnicities with their own languages and cultures only in Ethiopia. The Amharas and the Tigray people live in the highlands. Together with the Oromos, they make up 3/4 of the population in the country. Since almost half of the population is under the age of 15, the children start working in the fields at an early age. The Amharas are farmers and still work their land the old style. They plow with the help of oxen, and harvesting is done by hand. A common crop is the local grain teff, which grows well at these altitudes. Livestock is used to thresh the harvest before the seeds are separated and ready to use or be sold. Another big source of income for the highland people is raising livestock. There are more livestock here than anywhere else in Africa. Further up in the highlands, there are some 25 peaks, reaching altitudes of over 4,000 meters. There are times when snow falls up here. The area has been nicknamed the Alps of Africa. It's not hard to understand why the Italians felt at home in the alpine surroundings. But it is not only people who like the unique African climate. The Gelada baboon is also fond of the area. There are more than 20 species of animals not found anywhere else but in Ethiopia. Most of them are birds, but one of the endemic species is the Gelada baboon. They live in larger groups than most other primates and feed primarily on grass. You can find groups with up to 600 animals. Their long fur keeps them warm in the cold nights they spend on cliffs far from predators. They are very social animals, and they seem to know how to enjoy life as they graze away.